channel. Welcome to this video. Today I would like to read you a bedtime story, or just a story about Cinderella. It's a story that always meant a lot to me when I was a little girl. I used to read it a lot of times, and I also watched the Disney movie, of course, yes, like many people did. Well, all of you all know that it's about an inferior girl who was always bullied by her stepfamily, and in the end she is the one who lives happily ever after, right? Yeah. Well, this story always gave me hope that no matter how tough life can be at sometimes, there's always a way out. There's always a way out. And yeah, that's the beauty of many stories, but also about this one. And that's why Cinderella was special to me when I was a young girl. So I would love to read it to you, and I hope you are going to like it. And well, let's get started. I like all the pumpkins. We all know what the pumpkin turns into, right? Okay. Oh, that's the castle. Castle. With the horses. There she is, Cinderella, in her kitchen, sitting on the floor. Yes, working hard. And her stepsisters pointing at her, bullying. Yeah. Once upon a time, there was a gentleman who, after his beloved first wife died, married a widow with 2 daughters. When his new wife and stepdaughters arrived at his home and met his only daughter, they hated her at once, for they were vain and jealous creatures. The new stepmother sent the poor girl to live in the kitchen and thrust upon her all the lowly tasks in the house: cleaning, doing laundry, weeding the gardens, cooking, and sewing. Indeed, the young girl became a servant, running from morning till night from one task to the next, until she fell into an exhausted heap upon the kitchen, hurt and at the end of the day. "Look," said one stepsister, peering into the kitchen one morning and finding the girl still asleep in the ashes. "What a smutty, cinder-covered mess. Let's call her Cinderella," suggested the other. "Cinderella, Cinderella," they chanted together, laughing at the joke they had made at her expense. There's the broom, and the stepsister pointing at her, at the poor Cinderella who fell asleep in the ashes because she just worked too hard. Cinderella's father said nothing of his daughter's new circumstances, for he was totally ruled by his new wife. One day, as he was leaving to go to town, he asked his stepdaughters if they would like a trinket from the town fair. "I want a pearl necklace," said the elder. "I want a pink satin gown," demanded the other. "And you, my daughter?" the father asked Cinderella sheepishly, for she was ashamed of how she was treated and wished to make amends in some way. "The first twig, father, that brushes against your head on the way home," Cinderella said. And so he brought his stepdaughters expensive pearls and a fancy new gown. To Cinderella, he gave what she had requested: a little hazel twig. As her stepsisters were admiring their fine gifts, Cinderella took the hazel twig out to the garden, and planted it next to a beautiful white rose bush. Her mother had especially loved roses. Cinderella wept as she thought of her mother, and as she cried, her tears watered the hazel twig. At once, the little branch began to grow and grow, and in no time, a beautiful hazel tree stood in its place. A white bird flew onto the branch and sang a tune so lovely and sweet that it eased the sadness in Cinderella's heart. From that day on, Cinderella brought the bird bits of stale bread, and every day it sang for her and ate the bread out of her hand. Look at Cinderella sitting under the tree, the hazel tree, and the bird. Nice white flowers. Beautiful drawings. It looks like there's a bit of magic going on around here. You see? Yeah. Time passed, and Cinderella became accustomed to her hard labor, almost forgetting that she too had once been a fine young lady with handsome clothes and a soft bed to sleep in. Now it happened that the king's son was giving a grand ball soon, and all the eligible young ladies of the kingdom were invited. "Cinderella, where's my fan? Where are my blue shoes? Are my best petticoats clean? Fix my hair. Fetch my fan. Hurry, run! You are too lazy for words." Cinderella's stepsisters kept up in this manner for hours, trying to prepare themselves for the ball. Cinderella patiently did everything they asked. Then she ran downstairs and begged her stepmother to allow her to attend the ball as well. Look at the stepsisters looking in the mirror, dressed all nicely with a pink reddish dress. It's a beautiful, beautiful painting, this Look at the room with the nice curtains, shoes laying around. And Cinderella, she is making her stepsisters beautiful for the ball, doing their hair. And she's not wearing a very beautiful dress herself, right? I wonder who the lady in the picture is. Is that the stepmother or is that the mother? No, it's not the mother. Not the mother of Cinderella, because this is obviously a room which is too beautiful for Cinderella to sleep in, right? Yes. Yes. What? Stepmother said. You, a dirty kitchen wench, would be left out of the ball. But Cinderella persisted until finally your stepmother grabbed a bowl of lentils from the table and angrily tossed them into the fireplace ashes. If you can put all those lentils back into the bowl in 2 hours, you may go to the ball, she said cruelly. Then she stalked out of the room, knowing the task was hopeless. Cinderella despaired. But then the white bird from the hazel tree appeared at the open window. Oh, sweet bird, said Cinderella, if only you could help me. There are so many lentils in the ashes and I need to pick them all out in 2 hours. So I can go to the ball. At once the bird began to sing and was soon joined by other birds from the garden. Starlings, doves, and finches flew in the window and alighted among the ashes, picking out the lentils and returning them to the dish that Cinderella held. When all the lentils were back in the bowl, Cinderella ran to show her stepmother, who was preparing to leave for the ball with her daughters. You foolish girl, said the stepmother. Did you think I was serious? How could you go to the ball with no proper clothes? And Cinderella was left on the doorstep as her mother and stepsisters brushed past her to the couch waiting outside. As Cinderella watched her longing, their couch disappeared out the gate. She went to the garden and sank onto a stone bench under the hazel tree. The white bird was nowhere in sight. Her unhappiness deepened. Had she no friend in the world? Look at the poor Cinderella. Yeah, and the birds. Nice, the white bird and all the other ones. This good girl. Still in those awful clothes, working clothes. So, you want to go to the ball? Said a voice behind her. Cinderella looked around and was astonished to see a beautiful fairy standing by the hazel tree. She had seen all that happened. What are you waiting for, Cinderella? Fetch me the largest pumpkin from your garden. Cinderella found a huge pumpkin and rolled it out of the garden and onto the driveway. With a touch of her magic wand, the fairy transformed the pumpkin into a golden coach. Now, fetch me the mousetrap, and we'll see about some horses, she said. Look at her magic wand and the magic spreading, the magic dust, the fairy dust spreading all over the pumpkin, which turned into a couch. Yes. And look at Cinderella. She's delighted. Yeah. This is where her hope begins, right? There were 6 grey mice in the trap, and as Cinderella let them out, her fairy grandmother changed them one by one into beautiful dapple grey carriage horses. What about a coachman? Asked Cinderella. I think I saw a big plump rat in the rat trap. A good idea, said the fairy godmother. Go and fetch it. The rat made a fine coachman with a long moustache, and he immediately began to harness the horses to the coach as though he had been doing it for years. When Cinderella's fairy godmother said, Look in the garden, behind the watering pot. I imagine there might be a few lizards there that would make excellent footmen. And so, with a touch of magic, the magic wand, the lizard became footmen and took their place on the back of their carriage. Look at all the fairy dust on the horses and those little mouse waiting for the fairy dust to touch them. Right? Yes. Cinderella is really into it, yeah. And that cat. I wonder if that cat is gonna play a role in this whole thing, or just stays a cat for this night. Look at the beautiful dress and the wings of that fairy godmother. Cinderella was thrilled. Then she looked down at her own wretched appearance. Oh, not to worry, my dear, said the fairy godmother kindly, and with a wave of her hand, for when she transformed Cinderella's rags into a gown of golden silk, embroidered with pearls. As Cinderella looked down to admire the beautiful gown, she noticed that upon her feet were dainty slippers made entirely of glass. Wow. Now you're ready to go to the ball, said the fairy. But mind you, this enchantment lasts only till midnight. Then coach turns to pumpkin, horses back to mice, coachman to rat, footman to lizards, and your finery back to rags. You must leave the ball before midnight. Do not forget, Cinderella promised, and thanked her fairy godmother. The golden coach carried her swiftly to the king's palace. Wow. I love the drawings in this book. The dresses are so beautiful. Her gold dress. Well, Cinderella, hurry up. You have a party to go to. And there she is, Cinderella. She made it to the party. When Cinderella entered the grand hall, everyone stopped dancing, stopped talking, and stared, for she was dazzling in her splendid gown. Word spread quickly that a beautiful unknown princess had arrived. But it was Cinderella's sweet face that engaged the prince. He immediately asked her to dance, and would have no other partner the whole evening long. As they talked and laughed, Cinderella felt happy for the first time in years. Poor thing. Look at the men. The men are all astonished by her beauty. And the woman, all the women, they look shocked. Yes, they know that this is some serious competition, right? Yes. Who would have thought that? The evening passed so quickly that Cinderella forgot her promise until the clock began to strike midnight. Bung, 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 bung. And I guess 8 more times. Yeah, because it was 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock indeed. And here she's still another beautiful painting, right? She's still dancing with the prince in her golden gown. So beautiful. And the candles. And oh, look at this. This man is playing the violin. Are these 2 stepsisters? Yes, I think so. Yes. We're talking about Cinderella, right? But they don't know that it's Cinderella. That's the whole idea. And there's her glass shoe. Well, it was 12 o'clock. Cinderella ran from the room and dashed down the palace stairs so quickly that she stumbled and lost one of her slippers. The shadow of the palace wall hid her as she last stroke of midnight rang out. And then Cinderella slipped out of the gate, dressed once again in her rags. 6 mice scurried past her, followed by the rat and the lizards. The pumpkin rolled to the edge of the road and then into a ditch where it shattered. Cinderella walked slowly home, as if in a dream. Look at the girl running. Yeah. You can see the couch waiting outside of the porch. Beautiful house, beautiful castle of the king. And you see all the fairy dust appear. Yes, you know what's going to happen. Or what already happened. The next day, the prince found the glass slipper on the stairs and declared he would have no bride other than the one whose foot fits that shoe. And so began a search of the entire kingdom. Days passed, but the prince and his servant could not find the lady whose foot fit the glass slipper. The last house they stopped at was Cinderella's. The prince and his servant were shown into a drawing room where Cinderella's stepsister awaited. First, the elder tried to get her huge toes into the slipper without success. Then the younger sister tried. She managed to get her toes in, but however much she pushed, she could not force her heel into the shoe. Are there no other young ladies in this house? Asked the prince. There are none, said Cinderella's stepmother. Just a dirty cinder wench who works in the kitchen. Cinderella's father frowned, but said nothing. Well, thanks, Dad. Who is that in the garden, then? Asked the prince, staring out the window. Cinderella's father had kept silent for fear of angering his wife, but the sight of his daughter in the sunlit rose garden reminded him so much of his first wife that he took courage and spoke. That's my daughter, he said. She's beautiful, isn't she? Then he led the prince outside, leaving his wife and stepdaughters spluttering and, for once, speechless. Look at that. You can see Cinderella sitting outside in the garden on that bench. And the servant trying to fit on the shoe. And those two mean stepsisters. Yeah. In spite of her rag dress, the prince recognized Cinderella immediately. She sat on the garden bench, and the prince himself knelt to try the glass slipper on her foot. It fit perfectly. Then Cinderella reached into her pocket, took out a matching slipper, and put it on as well. She's sitting between the roses. The handsome prince trying to put on the glass slipper. And the only thing she could look at is the prince. Yes, I can imagine. Oh, look at that. She is holding the slipper, the other glass slipper, in her pocket right there. As Cinderella stood up, the sound of bird songs suddenly filled the air. Soon she was surrounded by fluttering wings and joyful chirping as all the birds in the garden flocked around her. The white bird settled on her outstretched hand. Instantly, Cinderella's dress became a gown of shimmering silk. It was a final gift from her fairy godmother. Cinderella's stepsisters ran into the garden, for they now recognized her as the beautiful young lady that they had seen at the ball. They fell down at her feet and begged the pardon of their poor treatment of her, and being a kind-hearted soul, Cinderella forgave them at once. Yeah. Cinderella is a great example to me. I wish we could all forgive that easily, right? It's not always easy. And look at the fairy dust appears, turning Cinderella into a beautiful, beautiful princess. The prince and Cinderella departed in a splendid coach to return to the palace to make their wedding plans. It soon became apparent that Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters would not be in attendance, however. For as the coach went out the gate, the birds in the garden flew at the woman with fury. Look at all those birds. They're attacking the stepmother, right? And the stepsisters. Peeking at them until they fled for their lives back into the house. And there they remained for the rest of their days. Well, that's depressing, for the birds were constantly on guard, and the woman could not set so much as one foot out the door. Their father seems happy. Look at him, waving, smiling. Yes. And those beautiful horses. Wow. Look at those two, they look so happy. Last page. As for Cinderella and the prince, they lived happily ever after. Yes. Sitting on another bench in a garden, surrounded by beautiful flowers, birds, some fairy dust, not to forget, under a very old big tree. All well ends well, right? Yes. Well, that was it. I hope you liked the story. And you might even be ready for bed now. Yes. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like this video, please let me know, and then I might do some other reading stories in future. Okay. For now, have a good night, and I'll see you soon.